So, first, why do you feel scattered and tired? Here we are in spring, winter is finally over, and you would think that we'd feel refreshed and renewed, but so many of us are feeling scattered and tired. The first reason, of course, is you're not getting enough sleep. Uh, Many of us do not get enough sleep for various reasons. We stay up late, we get on our devices, we have them next to us, we hear notifications, we watch Netflix, we wake up worried. There are so many reasons that we're not getting enough sleep. Sometimes we're just so busy, we have to set the alarm, and that period of time that we have to sleep is quite a short one. So, uh, increasing your sleep can help dramatically with how your body feels and how your brain feels when you're scattered and tired. Now, most of us are overscheduled, especially those of us who are moms. We have to drive our kids, we have to show up and make dinner and make lunches and keep the house uh, and everybody has different schedules, and somehow we are responsible for all of that. So it's emotionally challenging as well as just physically challenging and challenging to our time. Tech distractions are worse than you think. There's been so much research recently, I'm sure you've heard about it, on that blame our phones for our shortened attention spans. And I think that that is a simplified answer, but I think that that's also a true answer. That the fact that we have all of this information at our fingertips all of the time means that we're constantly able to distract ourselves. I focus in my family on making sure that we have family dinner together. Okay, we sit down as a family and we have family dinner. But I have to say, nearly every dinner, we get in a discussion about something, and the kids say, Mom, would you just Google it and find out? Or ask Siri and find out. And I have to go over and pick up my phone and bring it to the table and ask, the phone the answer to our question or get the data that I want. I can't even get through a full meal without that happening. It's amazing to me. So tech has really sped up our lives, because if you think about it, in previous years, in previous generations, when you had a discussion and you weren't sure of the answer to something, looking it up would have to wait a long time. You couldn't just have the answers at your fingertips. So it's not just that social media is distracting us and putting us in this state where we have very short attention spans, but it's also this constant connectedness to the answers that we seek. We think about how your brain has changed the way you drive. Because when I learned to drive, I had to use a map, like an actual paper map, and figure out where I was going. And I don't bother with that now. Now I just set it on maps or on Google Maps and have it tell me where to go. And that means when I move to a new location, instead of figuring out my neighborhood within, a month or so where everything feels natural and calm, it can sometimes take a couple of years to really know and really get that into my brain. Now, another reason we feel scattered and tired is overthinking. And this can be part of anxiety. It can also be a form of procrastination. Uh, but we just circle around, we noodle around on a topic over and over and over again, and we go through different possibilities. And this is related to the fact that we can suss out so many questions and possibilities from the technology that we have. And I think that that has worsened overthinking quite a bit. We're also under a lot of pressure. And I know I keep connecting these things back to tech distractions, but when I think of the expectation for research, what was kind of the level of research required for my PhD versus the expectation and level of research required for students 5 years after me. That was a huge increase because you went from needing to go to an archive or at least into the library and actually touching a book to having everything available online. And that increased the pressure and increased the expectations for what you do. And by the same token, being always connected, and this goes to the one after next, expected to be always on at work. I mean, do you remember pagers? I remember how invasive pagers felt in the 80s and 90s, early 90s. People who had pagers, especially if they weren't doctors, and you thought, why do you have a pager? Why do you have to be on when it's not time for your shift, when it's not working hours? So we're expected now to constantly respond to people, to have a very short time for that response time, to be always on. There's a much higher expectation of what we can accomplish because there's so much information available at our fingertips. And this is changing again with AI. Uh, this idea that we can just input something into AI and produce something that used to take hours and hours. So it's not that we're going to use AI and keep the level of production the same. There's this expectation that we can use AI and then produce 10 times more. And that is just the society that we live in. And that is way too much pressure. And to deal with that, we drug ourselves. We drug ourselves to sleep at night and we drug ourselves awake during the day, most commonly with caffeine. And I don't have anything against caffeine. I think caffeine can be a great thing, but we tend to be well over caffeinated, and that, of course, affects our bodies and our brains and how we're existing in the world. And when you start combining all of these things, this emotional pressure and the physical pressure and being over caffeinated and not getting enough sleep, then you are on the road to burnout. You are quickly on the road to burnout. And especially for those of us who have experienced burnout before, it's not difficult to get there again. Okay. So you feel scattered and tired because our world is making you scattered, and you have so many things that you're concerned about, and it becomes quite challenging to take the time to focus on one thing. I have had people say, why would you stop and practice, practice piano for 30 minutes? Why would you do that? What is the point of learning that? You can just listen to a recording. And, if you don't understand the point of going out into the garden and spending a few minutes working in the garden or spending a few minutes at the piano, then you're always going to feel scattered and tired because those are the sorts of things that you can do to renew yourself and to pull yourself back together.